In this chapter, you'll create a PHP script to read and write plain text files from and to the server. We'll find out how image files are managed with PHP using the GD libraries, and we'll have a brief look at ImageMagick. You'll learn how and why to resize images and to create a PHP script to upload files to the server. You'll learn how to fetch the HTML contents of a web document and how to parse the contents to extract useful data. Correct directory and file permissions are critical to success in saving files to a server. The two most common types of file that we need to deal with our PHP code are text files and image files. Text files include all of our code files, PHP, HTML, CSS, and so on, and they are stored in an ordered manner in the file system. PHP offers numerous functions to deal with the file system, and we're going to look at just a few of them here. Before we deal with creating files and reading files from our server, we're going to create a new directory or two in our htdocs root directory. And to do this, open up a snippet, examplets, file handling, text files, makedir, and save it as mkdir.php in the demo directory. Open up the demo directory and refresh it to find the file makedir, and this file is going to make the directory fonts. So we go up a level from our demo directory to the root directory htdocs and create the directory fonts. And we use the PHP function mkdir with the directory name, and then we change the permissions of this new directory with the PHP function chmod, change mode it was originally short for. And at each stage we're going to check whether it's been done, because each of these functions return true or false. So if they return true, we know that it's been done correctly. If not, we'll echo an error message to the browser. There are a couple of other PHP functions worth noting here. In this custom function, convert permissions, it takes the file or directory, it gets the PHP file perms format of the permissions, which is in octal format, and converts it to the usual text format that we're familiar with from Unix. So we print out convert permissions. Let's run this file now, and it tells us that the new directory fonts has been created and the permissions has been set. Obviously it's a directory to read, write and execute for all of owner, group and user. We're going to need another directory in this lesson called images. So I'll simply overtype fonts with images, save it, go back to the makedir script, refresh it, will be sufficient to run it, and it tells me that I've successfully created the directory images as well. We go to our file menu here and refresh it. We'll see that we do in fact have our new directories, fonts and images. In the rest of this lesson, we'll look at creating what's called a file handle with the fopen function, which sets a pointer to a new file called file name with a file mode. File mode can be a variety of options. A simple R in single quotes opens the file ready for reading. R+ opens it for reading and writing and places the file pointer at the beginning of the file. W to write and A to append. We'll also look at reading a line from a file. The fgets function gets the next line of the file called file name and moves the pointer to the next line. We'll also use fwrite to write a string to the file. Finally, fclose to close the file handle, and we can test for the end of file with feof. Let's look at some examples. In a fresh code pane, open the snippet file handling text files testfiles.php, and in a separate code pane, open plain text file. Plain text file is simply meant as a demonstration file, so save it as plain text file in the demo directory and save the test files, obviously, as testfiles.php, again in the demo directory. This script simply opens plain text file to read, and while it is not the end of the file of $file, the variable this file is set to the next line of the file. We echo the next line, we increment the counter, and finally close the file handle. We never close a file, we always close the file handle. So we can find this now in our demo folder and find plain text file. That's of course the plain text file that we created. All it is just text. But test files is the one we want to run. So let's run that, and it extracts each of the lines of that plain text file, numbers them, and prints them out. But notice there is nothing here for any of the HTML code, because it has actually echoed this code to the browser, and so the browser has interpreted this as HTML, so it doesn't actually print anything out other than the line of body text that was in the middle. Let's just modify that file a little bit. In test files, when we get this line, let's replace all of the beginning markers for a tag with the HTML ampersand LT semicolon, and all of the end markers with ampersand GT semicolon, and see what we get now. If we save that, refresh the file, and we certainly do get all of the HTML, because if we look at right click and view selection source, you'll see that this is not really HTML text, but it's printed out ampersand LT semicolon HTML ampersand GT semicolon. It's pseudo HTML text so that it will display the entire HTML code on the browser.